So the Barrie Colts are now getting ready for their second week of the 25-26 OHL regular season, and they've got a big test on the way as the Windsor Spitfires, who have high expectations coming into this season, will make their one and only trip to the Saddlin Arena. So I figured let's talk to Manny Paiva, who's seen his share of OHL games. He right now covers the Windsor Spitfires on the radio side of things. And Manny, this Spitfires team, are they worth the price of admission right now? There's been so much excitement around this team.
Mike, great to see you. And yes, I think the Windsor Spitfires are worth the price of admission. Always enjoyed my trips to the Sadlin Arena. Um, Even though Windsor may be missing some guys when the two teams battle this coming weekend, I still think there are several players in this lineup that fans will be excited to see, including Ethan Belches, who is getting a lot of press as a potential top five, top 10 pick in the upcoming NHL draft.
And the Spitfires last weekend put on quite the performance, an 8-1 win on the road in Sarnia to open the season. Cole Davis with a hat trick in that game. And then, of course, it's always a good time for Spitfire fans when they see a win against the London Knights. It must have been a pretty rowdy weekend there down at the WFCU.
Yeah, I think fans, whenever you start a season, Mike, I'm sure Barry fans are the exact same way. A little excitement, but also a little nervousness, and they're a little bit anxious about what they will see, especially with some players not back in the lineup. But Windsor fans were in all their glory as the Spitfires outscored their opponents 12-2 on the weekend, and those two goals were both power play goals. They have yet to give up an even strength goals to start this season.
And you've actually seen both sides of the Windsor London rivalry. I kind of wanted to touch on this a bit because that rivalry is probably one of the top rivalries in maybe the Canadian Hockey League. You were a broadcaster at the Knights when you started in the OHL. Now you're at the Spitfires. That's got to be a pretty strange dynamic for you, seeing both sides of it.
Yeah, I can honestly say that I've seen some fierce rivalries in the Ontario Hockey League. Not to date myself, but I'm sure the gray hair does that on its own. But when I started calling games for the Knights, there were players like Nick Stajdahar and Jason Allison, and DJ Smith was actually playing for the Windsor Spitfires back in the day, not a coach or what have you. So anytime those teams met, you knew you were in for an intense, competitive game. And I think that even continued on this past weekend when the fans were really excited. I think the fans of either team get really excited when they can say they got one up on the other team. Even my time in Owen Sound and London developed a very fierce rivalry, and the fans would each get on each other and celebrate their victories and blame someone like the refs when their team lost.
I feel as though that seems to be a fan base go-to for any team. You got to start with the referees and then work your way up when it comes to reasons for a loss.
It always seems to happen that way in the Ontario Hockey League. And I think that's great because the fans are really passionate about their team and they can do no wrong, maybe except for one or two things in a hockey game.
And for the Spitfires team, we mentioned it off the top. There's high expectations for this team. Many in the media polls saying that Windsor, Kitchener, probably the top two teams right now in the Western Conference. Is that something that maybe the team's trying to put in the rearview mirror, trying to not pay attention to, and just focus on their game out on the ice?
Yeah, I think the coaching staff led by Greg Walters in Windsor is really trying to keep the team hyper focused on expectations. He talks about the fact that let's just take it and focus on the game that's just ahead of us, and we'll go from there. It's really difficult, though, as you can imagine, Mike, and I'm sure you've experienced this with players who are 16 to 20 years of age, right? They always like looking ahead. They might not get hyper focused. It's especially difficult in Windsor because the last two times they've been eliminated from the playoffs have come at the hands of the Kitchener Rangers. So those two teams seem like they may be on a collision course yet again this year, but there's still a lot more hockey to play.
Well, it's a busy schedule for both teams, and it's I know a lot of fans are going to be focused quite a bit when Kitchener and Windsor go at it throughout the regular season. But it seems as though when you look at this lineup, Bill Bowler seems to have done a fantastic job, the general manager of the team. You've got your skilled veterans, thinking of the likes of Liam Greentree, and then you look at the younger players up and coming, J.C. Lemieux, Ethan Belches. It seems like a great blend right now, and this team is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think when you take a look at the top six forwards, for example, for the Windsor Spitfires, you'd be hard pressed to find another team in this league that matches up against them really well. Liam Greentree, who's coming off a 49 goals, 119 point season. He's been the team's Red Tilson nominee for the past 2 years. I think he's going to make it 3 years in a row, which is unheard of. Yes, they lost Noah Morneau and Ryan Abraham, but you still have Jack Nesbitt, a first round pick of the Philadelphia Flyers. You still have Cole Davis, who's coming off Player of the Week honors. AJ Spellisy was one of the fastest skaters in the Ontario Hockey League. And then you round out that top six with the likes of a Ethan Belches and a JC Lemieux in there. I really like Windsor's first round pick in Johnny McLaughlin. I think he's going to be a tremendous rookie in this league. And even though BA fans may not see him, there's still many people in the Spitfires organization who are holding out hope that Ilya Protas will be returned by the Washington Capitals. And here's a guy who was second in league scoring, 50 goals, 124 points. It's a lot of offense to make up for. But if he does return to this Windsor lineup, watch out.
Yeah, well, Barry fans missed out on Protas last year because I do believe he was a scratch due to illness last year when they came up here. So Protas, obviously, him and Greentree have developed some amazing chemistry, and I think some of the arguments is for Greentree is, would Greentree have the stats that he has without Protas? But we saw in the preseason in one game he ended up putting up 5 points.
Yeah, I think Liam Greentree is one of those players that is very unique. He's already got an NHL pro shot. He can create offense on his own. Is it better when you got a player like Protas? Of course it is. But we've seen time and again that he can develop and create his own offense. Plus, his compete level is off the charts. And I think that's what separates Liam Greentree from some other players in the Ontario Hockey League. Even before last season, Liam Greentree led this team in scoring, and he didn't have a Protas with him. So Liam Greentree is a uniquely offensive skill set, and that's why the LA Kings took him first overall. And if you want to bang with him, he's a big boy. He can bang with the best of them. He's listed at 6'3", 216 pounds, and I got to think he's a little bit even bigger than that.
And we haven't even touched on goaltending. Joey Costanzo just coming back from Philadelphia Flyers training camp, which must be a huge confidence boost for him, getting that chance to be with the Flyers organization and bringing that experience back to the Spitfires for what promises to be a deep run.
Yeah, I thought Joey was excellent last year. He had 34 wins, second only to Jackson Parsons of those Kitchener Rangers. He had four shutouts last year as well, second only to Jackson Parsons of those Kitchener Rangers. But he's very confident. He knows this is his last year of junior hockey, and he wants to make the most of it. And I will say that the Spitfires are moving ahead with Michael Newlove as the primary backup. I think this 17-year-old oozes talent, and I think he will be an NHL draftee when we talk next summer as well. So I think the Spitfires are really set up nicely in goal. You look at their back end, Michael, too. They returned five defensemen from last season. And then they have some really good young talented players who are moving up the ranks. Andrew Robinson only had a cup of coffee last year. He's now playing full time. They have a young player named Jonathan Brown, who is an elite skating, high IQ defenseman coming from the US program. That's 7D right there. So the one thing that I think really makes the Spitfires tough to match up against is their depth at forward and at defense, and then of course in goal.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see how it all plays out with the Spitfires this season. But when you look at the rest of the Western Conference, I know we talked about Kitchener and London. How do you see it all playing out in the West? Because from our perspective here in the East, it seems like it's anyone's guess as to how who's going to be able to get that final home ice position come playoff time.
Yeah, I think the London Knights are still going to be a very good hockey team, even though they're 0-2. Their demise, let's not write that story just yet. They're missing a ton of players. They had 9 regulars from last season out of the lineup against Windsor on Saturday night. This is still going to be a very good team. I think the Saginaw Spirit are going to be a really good team. And one of the big storylines is Saginaw is how long will Michael Misa last with the San Jose Sharks? Will he play the full 10 games in San Jose before he's returned? Will he even come back to the Ontario Hockey League? And I think Saginaw's fortunes will depend on that storyline. But I really like the way Saginaw has been built. They've brought in some American players who are new to the OHL who ooze talent. And I think they're going to be just as tough an opponent as many of the other teams in the OHL.
Well, Manny, it's great to be able to catch up to you, talk to you about the Windsor Spitfires, and all the best throughout the season.
Great to chat with you, Mike. Looking forward to watching the show throughout the year, and maybe we can catch up again in the future.
So that's Windsor Spitfires broadcaster Manny Paiva, and this Spitfires team, they look solid from the back end out. It's going to be fascinating just to see how it all takes shape in the Western Conference. Like we mentioned, Windsor, Kitchener, London, all expected to be top teams in that West. But, Manny brings up some good points there about the Saginaw Spirit. And there's the Sioux Greyhound. So, like I said, it's anyone's guess as to how the standings are actually going to be finalized. But we do know this is going to be a Windsor Spitfires team that's going to be fun to follow. And right now, just waiting to find out when will Liam Greentree return from the LA Kings camp, and also Ilya Protas. Does he come back from the Washington Capitals? So again, thank you to Manny for helping out with this chat. And if there's anything you want to add in regards to the Windsor Spitfires, love to see the interactions. Thank you very much for your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.